I'm Narek Margaryan, and I write funny things for the internet, movies, and a TV show called ArmComedy, which may be best described as two guys making fun of politics and still getting away with that. So when I was preparing for this talk today, I analyzed how I got into comedy a little bit, and I went as far back as 1997, when I was about 14 years old. I went to school in Moscow, and I stood out in that school because I was the black kid. That's what people, mean people in Moscow call you when you're from Armenia. But I had really good friends. Here are my buddies. So you can see I'm standing out just a little bit. I'm not the tallest, I'm not the strongest, I'm not the smartest, so I had to be the funniest, right? Truth is, I wasn't. All of these guys were super funny, and this group right here, we had a tradition. Every day after school, we'd go and hang around in exactly the same spot. We'd make jokes, we'd make pranks, practical jokes, we'd make fun of passers-by, and we'd make fun of each other. We ruthlessly destroyed each other every day, and we laughed to tears. And every day we tried to be better, tried not to repeat ourselves, tried to top each other. So as I was deconstructing this was my first comedy exercise, and probably the first creativity exercise other than drawing Superman and then bringing it to this children's art gallery and being rejected. So the topic I want to tackle today is, can you produce outstanding creative content on a daily basis? The answer is no, of course. What are you, crazy? Nobody has ever pulled that off, not even Leonardo or the Beatles or Hemingway, not even Armenian. So this was the shortest talk for today. Goodbye. But what if you had to produce creative content every day? So through the years, I've learned a few tricks to how to keep the creative juices flowing, and I want to share them with you. First one is reasonable perfectionism. What does it mean? Can you expect to be in your Beatles or your Armenian mode every day? No, the truth is you won't. But once you make peace with that, once you take that pressure off, you'll get less nervous and you will have more concentration and focus to create your work. Does this mean you have to settle for average and forget about great? No, because once you're relaxed, once you lose yourself in your work, that's when the true sparkles of awesomeness keep emerging. The other one, of course, Armenian keeps popping up. The other one I wanted to talk about is maintaining a routine. I've noticed that the more I maintain a routine, the easier it is to write every day. It would take a psychologist or a neuroscientist to explain the reason why. All I can say is if you feed the muse more frequently at the same time, the more it keeps coming back, much like your friends. So this summer I ran across a book. It's called Daily Rituals by Mason Curry, and the book tells that every great man you can think of had daily rituals like Mozart, Darwin, Hemingway, Kafka. All of them had very specific rituals. The book sadly omits Armenian for some reason, but it's reasonable perfectionism, so there's nothing you can do about it. So this book told us that Beethoven, for example, counted exactly 50 beans for every cup of coffee he had in the morning. Or Schiller kept rotting apples in his drawer so that the decaying smell somehow stimulated his brain. Or Stravinsky used to stand on his head. But since we're nowhere near this guy's genius, we can be more humble. For example, what I do, I run in the morning, I have a piece of dark chocolate, I tidy up my desk, and then I sit down to work. Or on the days when I'm very, very lazy, I don't run, I have a lot more chocolate, and I just clean up my computer's desktop. Somehow it has a similar effect. Muses exist, and writer's blocks don't exist. First of all, let's talk about what is a muse. Muse is a fancy word for inspiration, right? And many have tried to decode its mysterious way through the years, but no one has truly done it. What we can say is that some patterns exist. For example, a great idea tends to come out at night when you're sleeping, before you're just about to wake up. And my advice is keep a notepad or a smartphone really nearby so you can write that idea down. Because, believe me, the idea will disappear as unexpectedly as it came to you. I've tried other things. I tried the voice recorder on my iPhone. It worked tremendously. The only problem was that in the morning when I woke up, my awesome idea sounded like this. So yes, write your ideas down. The other place where great ideas usually come, of course, is another place where it's impossible to write anything down. It's the shower. There's something primal about you standing there naked, water flowing all over you, and then a good idea pops. Well, do something, be creative. Muse has been so much popularized in literature, in the movies, that eventually I think it led to what we call writer's block. What is writer's block? It's an umbrella term for the time when you do not have any new ideas, and it applies to everyone in the creative field. There is dancer's block, composer's block, designer's block. The thing here is the more you acknowledge writer's block, the more you feed the monster. And if you are creative kind, you tend to dramatize things, and now suddenly you're standing on a cliff, lightning sparks up the night, waves are crashing into the rock, and you're pondering over your great creative problem. Should I use scarlet for that color of that logo, or crimson? Of course, to me, the non-designer, these are the same colors, and they're both called red, but not to the designer. The designer is preoccupied. So the suggestion I want to make here is just relax, sit down, and start writing something, start designing something. Because once you do that, your creative muscle kicks in, your routine we talked about earlier kicks in, and then you start producing something that has a chance of being good. The real creativity killer is distractions. And if I go for 8 hours working on something with distractions and maybe a couple of hours in complete isolation, I'll be more productive in those couple of hours. But the future that we live in, the future that is yet to come, has made isolation a complete utopia, right? You get a call on your phone, your smartwatch is vibrating, then suddenly your laptop tells you have an email, and then you get a message on your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, your Viber, your WhatsApp, your Zangi, your Telegram. On top of that, your home appliances. They also have notifications. Your PlayStation is telling you your friend is online. Your Apple TV wants an update. Your fridge is telling you that you're running out of milk. What to do? I turn off all notifications on every app I ever download. Would you like to receive a push notification? Not in a million goddamn years, no. I have an app that is called Self-Control. What it does, it shuts down my entire social media for a period of time, you indicate. And I click on that icon. I feel extremely humiliated for a few seconds, and then I can actually work. And I wouldn't know if you liked my picture on Facebook. I wouldn't know if you commented on my status. I wouldn't know if you ha-ha'd it, although it would be nice. Although, of course, if Armenchik was ever to comment on my status, I'd interrupt everything and rush to read what he has to say. The other obvious one is repetition. You've all probably heard about the 10,000-hour rule. If you do something for 10,000 hours, you get better at it. But can that's mechanical, right? Can this apply to creativity? Well, I tend to agree that a little bit, because once you are good at something, you start paying less attention to the technical aspect of it and concentrating on the creative side. When I was writing my first movie screenplay, I concentrated heavily on formatting, because formats in movies are very tricky. I concentrated heavily on structure, because structure is even trickier. And less focus was left for story and for characters, and these are the most important things. So about 4 or 5 screenplays later, I barely ever think about format and structure, and I can concentrate on what matters. Does this mean that eventually creativity becomes easier? No, but the end result you get from spending time gets better. So my advice to you is repeat what you do every day. Repeat it even if it's not your best work. Repeat it If you'll never show it to anyone again, repeat it even though you'll never ever remember what it exactly was in 20 years. Much like the jokes that I did with these guys in Moscow. Thank you.